Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ruchika Sharma from FSSAI, and I welcome you all today to the introductory webinar on Eat Smart Challenge. Today, we have I think conversation with some of our experts and a detailed colleague, which will give you an introduction on Eat Smart Challenge. So I would like to invite Ms. Noshi Sharma, Director FSSAI, for opening remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and I welcome all the cities who have joined us. Respected Kunal sir, MD Smart Cities Mission, my colleague, Mr. Rahul, who's the director there, Dr. Bani, who is representing one of the associations working with FSSAI NETPROFAN, and all the municipal commissioners and their offices who have joined us today. A very good afternoon to all of you. India continues to urbanize at an exponential rate. People move to cities in search of a better life, therefore ensuring their health and providing safe food is of utmost importance. Cities across the country have demonstrated their central and growing role in achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, since they face several challenges such as climate change, economic development, health, and the environment, among other issues. COVID-19 has provided us an opportunity to concentrate our attention on the need for good health and well-being of our cities and citizens. Eating safe, healthy, and nutritious food is a principal ingredient for good health and immunity. It is in this context that the Eat Smart City Challenge encompasses a bouquet of initiatives that target food businesses for their capacity building and self-compliance and nudge consumers to make right food choices. Cities can develop local solutions in this challenge for a food system sustainability. They can act on different stages of the food system, which involves production, transformation, logistics, distribution, consumption, waste management. These local initiatives in turn will contribute to the overall food systems transformation of the country. So without much delay, I would request Shri Kunal Kumar sir to kindly address us all.
Thank you, Inoshi, and I very warmly welcome all the participants. Just 1 minute. To this first webinar of the Eat Smart Cities Challenge. All of us are aware that over the last 1 year, we have tried to respond to an unprecedented situation. And because we call ourselves the Smart Cities mission and we call ourselves Smart Cities, we are not only responding for ourselves, but in a way, we are trying to create templates for every city to look at crises like these. I mean, this is a one-off, unprecedented, high magnitude crisis, and to see how we can reposition the way we think about cities, reimagine the way we think about cities, and it would be a travesty of sorts if we go along the same pre-COVID times, doing the same things, building drainage systems, building roads, building water systems, as if nothing else happened in these 2 years. Because, I mean, those are essential. We don't deny that those things are essential. हमको रोड की जरूरत है, पानी की जरूरत है, ड्रेनेज की जरूरत है. इन जरूरतों को हम डिनाई नहीं कर सकते. लेकिन हमने देखा है पिछले 1-1.5 साल में कि कई चीजें ऐसी हैं जो शायद हम लोगों ने कभी ध्यान ना दिया हो, लेकिन अगर उस पे ध्यान दिया होता तो कई लोगों की जानें बच जाती और लॉन्ग टर्म में हमारे जो प्रोडक्टिविटी है, मतलब अल्टीमेटली हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं, जैसे अभी इनोशी जी ने बताया कि सिटीज में लोग आ रहे हैं, अर्बनाइजेशन हमारा रैपिड हो रहा है. इसका एक बड़ा कारण है कि हम वहाँ इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट्स देखते हैं और इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट्स का कारण होता है प्रोडक्टिविटी. एक इंसान 8 घंटे में कितना प्रोडक्टिव हो सकता है, उसके आधार पे उसकी इनकम तय होती है. जो कम प्रोडक्टिव होता है उसको कम आय मिलती है, जो ज्यादा प्रोडक्टिव होता है उसको ज्यादा इनकम मिलती है. Productivity is not only about the output that you do. The productivity is also about how good you are to create the output that you can. If you eat well, if you live in the right food environment, if you breathe good air, and if you live a life which is healthy, your productivity goes up. And that is not measured, and therefore we don't pay attention to these things because our mind typically tends to focus on those things where we can measure and when we have data. हम सब जो है अपने हाथ में एक स्मार्ट वॉच लगा के घूमते हैं कि कितने स्टेप्स हमने कवर कर लिए, लेकिन क्या हमने कोई ऐसा वॉच देखा है कि हमने कितना तेल खा लिया या कितना हमने फैट्स आज कंज्यूम कर लिया अननेसेसरली, कितना हमने जंक फूड खा लिया? ये हमारे पास स्केल्स नहीं होते हैं, इसलिए हम उन पर ध्यान नहीं दे पाते. So the point about Eat Smart is not only about eating right. It is as because we are government functionaries, we are municipal authorities, we are CEOs of smart cities, and we have larger responsibilities in this context also. But going back to the point from where I started, our cities need to be reimagined in the way they do public transport, which is why we started this campaign around Transport for All. We have to reimagine cities around walking and cycling, active lifestyle, which is why we started the Streets for People and Cycles for Change. We have to imagine cities where people feel comfortable to come out, enjoy their neighborhoods. They don't have to live in their homes because their neighborhoods are so bad or they're so unsafe or they're so dirty that they cannot come out, which is why we started the Nurturing Neighborhoods campaign. And the Eat Smart Cities Challenge, which we are doing jointly with FSSAI, is a piece in the same puzzle. We're trying to reimagine cities in the way we look at health, we look at active living, we look at healthy living. And so my sincere request would be that today we are starting a journey. In fact, we started the journey when we launched the challenge. But the learning journey starts today. अब तक हम लोगों ने registration वगैरह किया, सब किया, we got into the gates, sort of. And now our learning journey is starting. And by the way, the web medium is so beautiful that once we do a webinar here, you can have all your employees, all your functionaries, everyone on the call, because as cities, it may not be only confined to the CEO or one health officer or two people. You could have as many people attend these calls so that you can create a movement out of it. If you are maybe a CEO who really thinks innovatively, you could probably have your top 5 neighborhood associations or maybe 50 neighborhood associations also directly join this call. Because whatever small little bit comes out of this, and if you can do this in partnership with them, you will amplify the benefits, as well as this will directly reach out to so many different people who can make a difference in these regards. So think innovatively of how you will use this webinar platform, the number of engagements that you will have around the Eat Smart Cities Challenge henceforth going forward, and try to get as many people engaged with it so that you are able to make a difference and able to make an impact in everyone's minds in the quickest possible time. And you get, most important thing as smart cities we have learned is, no success is achieved unless people get involved, unless it is people's movement, unless it is something that is owned by people. You and I, when we see children, they feel bored in school, but when they come back home, they are very smartly playing video games all the time. Why is that? Because at school they seem controlled by the teacher, while in the video game they're actually their possibility of killing the teacher. You just feel control over your teacher. And therefore, more control you feel over the thing you are doing, more ownership of you feel over the thing you are doing, you enjoy doing it more. And that's why in cities, हम चाहे कितने बड़े-बड़े बैनर लगा दें या भाषण दे दें या अपने टीम में हम ये बातें कर लें, जब तक कि जिन लोगों तक हमें पहुंचना है उनको इन्वॉल्व नहीं करेंगे, उनको इस कार्यक्रम का कंट्रोल नहीं देंगे, उनको इंगेज नहीं करेंगे, तब तक ये मूवमेंट बनेगा नहीं. और इसके जो है पहलू कई सारे हैं. मतलब जैसे मैंने शुरुआत में कहा कि ये ईट स्मार्ट तो है, लेकिन क्योंकि हम लोग बड़े-बड़े we have important responsibilities in the city, so this is about how you manage innovatively the registration and surveillance of businesses that are in the food business. Now, इसमें क्या हम स्मार्ट सिटीज के थ्रू, आप में से कई लोग विदेश जाते होंगे, मैं तो सिंगापुर में पढ़ा हूँ, वहाँ का मैंने हॉकर मार्केट का सिस्टम देखा है. कैन वी क्रिएट समथिंग लाइक दैट? 56 दुकान जैसे इंदौर में है, अलग जगहों में कुछ और तरीके से उन्होंने कोशिश की है. अब कई सारी चीजें हो रही हैं. कैन वी क्रिएट beautiful places where clean hygienic food can be available, rating systems can be developed, people can go to stalls which are highly rated, and there is a competition that is developed among people, among smart food vendors, which creates a sort of a virtuous cycle which takes everyone towards better food. Then benchmarking, certification, creating better school environments, school environments, food environments, whether be it school, whether be it canteens, whether be it our own canteens. Sometimes when we see the food we eat in meetings, we can hardly be, we have to practice before you preach. If we have samosas and stuff like that all the time in office, how do you teach others to have good food habits? School canteens, I probably had spoken about this in one of my previous webinars, but there was a research when I was studying at Kennedy School. There was a research conducted as to why in Massachusetts they have 37% children who are obese. And one of the things they found out was the size of the plate. So one of the things was size of the plate. So they reduced the size of the plate, and because people used to take more food, and because in most of these school canteens and all, the first things that used to be put was pizzas and all the high calorie food, whereas the salads and all used to be found at the back of the rows where nobody wanted to really reach out to. As it is, they don't want to, and then you have put it at the back because of, obviously that is why you have put it at the back, because you have a different mentality. But otherwise, these are the small things that you change in your work environments and school environments, canteens, temples, churches, gurudwaras, everywhere we have possibility, and they could actually not only change environments in their own premises, but because of the power they wield on the minds of people, they can actually help us change environments across the board in the city. So how we involve them, and plus how we create a sustainable food environment. Have we ever tried to map out the chain of how food comes into our city? How that omelette or whatever, if you're a vegetarian, and that potato or whatever comes on your table, how does it actually make it there? Can there be better sustainable management of food in the sense of long-term planning for food systems within the city? This is the time to learn about it. And of course, mass mobilization, getting all this to people, talking about healthy food habits, increasing productivity, and so on and so forth. Now all this has to be done, and so a lot of knowledge is required. Because I was also a municipal commissioner, I would shudder to talk about these things in public because I'll have little knowledge about it. All of us are Google specialists. We can Google and talk about things, but you don't know what is right, what is wrong in the correct way. So here we have almost, without any cost, sitting in our cities across the board, so many people can participate. We have the agency which actually works on food safety and standardization in the country, FSSAI, their entire team, their partners, their NGOs, everyone working with us to support us. So this is a valuable golden chance that we as cities have. And unless we are really demotivated and don't think that this is a time to reimagine cities, this is a time to do something about looking at our cities in a new way, we would really not do justice to ourselves by missing out on this opportunity. So my request to cities is, now let's go beyond registration. We have done the registration bit, we are in it. Now it is time to catch the bull by the horns, take all the knowledge that is disseminated and turn around these systems in our cities, reach out to maximum number of people, make maximum impact on ground, which is why these webinars will be very, very crucial for you. My request to those cities and friends of those cities who have not registered, may please tell them also to register. There are about 20 odd cities, 25, 30 cities who have not registered so far. I fail to understand why they have not registered, because they really have to do nothing, at least in the beginning, just to listen out and at least try to imbibe these things. And henceforth, if they feel they can do something about it, they should move ahead and do things on ground. Plus, I would request all of you to continuously engage with these webinars. We'll put a lot of effort. There's a lot of background work which goes in. So my request would be all of you to come in and be interactive, take maximum out of these things. And also after the webinars, our team will be within reach for you through various mediums of communication. Reach out to them, figure out your own ways of doing things, be innovative, set out examples that other cities can follow, and we would be proud of saying as a mission, look what Jabalpur did, or what Jhansi did, or what Aligarh did, or maybe what a Belgavi did. I'm just giving examples. Let's talk about you as cities in multiple forums, national, international, of how you turn around food systems, how you've turned around the way we look at and imagine food in our cities. So with those words, my best wishes to the team in Delhi for conducting these webinars, as well as to all the cities and their friends and colleagues from these cities who are participating. Let's all make the max out of it and try to do justice to this incredible new assignment that we have taken on as smart cities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring words. I'm sure this will certainly motivate cities to get into the engagement phase. I would now like to invite my colleague, Ms. Rijuta Pandav, to share a short presentation with the cities to orient them about this challenge. Over to you, Rijuta.
Thank you, Ruchika. So I will be giving you a brief overview of what the Eat Smart Cities Challenge is. So can you all see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So I will now proceed. So essentially, what is this Eat Smart Cities Challenge? It is a competition to motivate cities to develop and execute a plan that supports a healthy, safe, and sustainable food environment for adoption and scaling up of various initiatives under the Eat Right India program. So I will explain what this Eat Right India program is and how it fits into this Eat Smart Cities challenge. Now, the Eat Right India movement has been initiated to promote safe food, healthy food, and sustainable food. So essentially, it is based on these three pillars of eat safe, eat healthy, and eat sustainable. Now, what do we mean by eat safe? By eat safe, we mean practicing personal and surrounding hygiene, whether it's in the restaurant, whether it's at home, promoting hygiene and sanitation across the food value chain, combating food adulteration, eliminating toxic residues in food such as pesticides, and then preventing hazards of used cooking oil that makes its way into the food chain. The second pillar is eat healthy. What we mean by eat healthy is eating a balanced diet. That means eating less and eating on time at the right time. Dietary diversification, meaning having a variety of foods from all food groups in the right quantity. Eliminating industrial trans fats. Reducing the intake of salt, sugar, and saturated fats in the diet. This is to prevent non-communicable diseases like diabetes, hypertension, and so on. And promoting fortified food staples. Fortified foods are foods in which vitamins and minerals have been added to the food to make it more nutrient rich. And then the third pillar is eat sustainable. What this means is practicing food habits and practices that do not harm the environment, such as eating local and seasonal food, so that the carbon gas emissions and all the environmental hazards that are a result of transportation and storage of food are prevented. Reducing food waste and promoting food sharing. Reducing and recycling plastics in the food and beverage sector. These plastics are extremely harmful to the environment. Then conserving water in food processing and along the food value chain. And then reducing the use of chemicals across the food value chain. So essentially, the Eat Right India movement encompasses all these points through its various programs. Now, let me discuss a little bit about the kind of approach this movement takes. Eat Right India is not just about making sure people eat healthy at home or making sure that the food in the restaurants is safe. It takes a food systems approach. It looks at all parts of the food system, right from the post-harvest stage to the food processing stage, transportation, storage, retail level, where food is served in shops and restaurants, and then also at the household level. And then after that, what happens to the food once it leaves people's homes? What happens to food wastage? What happens to the the plastic and waste that comes from packaging food and beverages? So it looks at the entire food chain, and it looks at all parts of the food system, whether it is ministries, whether it is different members of the society, whether it's different parts of the industry. It looks at food in totality in a very, very holistic manner. And this helps us to find solutions that actually work because it brings all food systems together. So in continuation of this, the Eat Right India movement takes a whole of government approach. Now, why is that important? Because food is not just related to one single ministry. It's not related to the health ministry or the food processing industry. There are at least, 8 to 15 ministries that are variously involved in food related matters. So it's important to take an interministerial approach and make sure that all ministries work in tandem, whether it's Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, all of them. And the Eat Smart Cities Challenge is an example of how Eat Right India movement has taken this interministerial engagement approach. Because now we are collaborating with the Smart Cities Mission and FSSAI, and FSSAI is under the Ministry of Health. So this is the whole of government approach that Eat Right India takes. Next is the whole of society approach. Now there are various key players in society, whether they are food professionals in the area of food and nutrition, or whether they are industry and consumer associations and organizations or development agencies. They all are connected to people. They reach out to people in different capacities, and it's important to engage all of them and take a holistic approach. So this is the whole of society approach, wherein we can engage citizens through these various channels. Now, Eat Right India focuses on 5 key actions. Since it has been led and launched by the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSSAI has certain key regulatory functions related to food safety. That is one of the first primary key actions of Eat Right India, which is creating the right regulatory framework to ensure that the food that citizens get is safe, healthy, and sustainable. The second key action is training and capacity building. This not only includes food handlers, but other key players in the food environment, such as administrators or regulatory staff, lab testing staff, just everybody in the food system. The third is food safety rating and certification. As Kunal sir mentioned in his keynote address, rating restaurants and food outlets, giving them a food safety rating. This is one of the key actions of Eat Right India. The fourth is nudging food businesses. Where we cannot influence food businesses through laws or regulatory compliance actions, we can nudge them, which means we can voluntarily ask them to practice safe, healthy, and sustainable food practices. And last but not the least, large-scale social and behavioral change. This pertains to citizens at large. It is about educating citizens about what is eating healthy and how they can make the right food choices. So now, what does this Eat Smart Cities challenge do? It is essentially about encouraging cities to adopt various programs under Eat Right India initiative, as well as create their own vision for their cities to promote safe, healthy, and sustainable food. So this challenge is open to all the major cities. There are 141 cities that have been identified. These are eligible for participating in this challenge. And as these cities are required to develop this Eat Smart vision, detailing how they will adopt these Eat Right India initiatives. And on top of that, they can also include their own ideas, their own innovative ways in which they can promote health and well-being of their citizens. So there are 5 key steps for this challenge. First, of course, is the online registration, which you all have done, which is why you're here. The next step is the implementation phase. In this phase, cities will pick one project out of 5 key areas, which I will describe later, and they will implement projects on pilot basis in their respective cities. The third phase is the selection phase, where we will evaluate the activities carried out in the pilot phase and the visions that cities submit in their online application. And then the fourth stage is we will pick 10 made cities as winners and announce their names, and then we will engage them for more intensive application of this these Eat Right India initiatives and scale them up for the wider population. So just to go over the timelines and important dates. So online registration has closed by 21st May. Today, of course, is the introductory webinar, which is an overview of the challenge. The second webinar will be held on 28th May. I hope that you will all attend that webinar also. Then on 23rd June onwards, a series of webinars with international stakeholders will be held about a week or so apart. And these webinars will take you through some key steps and concepts to help you design your Eat Smart City vision and help you implement and scale up the Eat Right India initiatives in your city. Then from 15th August to 1st October is the selection phase, at the end of which winners will be announced, the top 11 cities who are selected. And then on 2nd October, we'll begin the implementation and scale up phase. And then on 30th June next year, this is the end of the engagement period with the winners. And then the winning cities, they will be showcased and their case studies will be showcased and presented. So now let me go over the 5 key areas of action from which the cities have to pick pilot projects. So the first is licensing and registration and surveillance drives for food businesses. Essentially, in this step, cities will have to conduct drives in which food businesses that are not registered with FSSAI or that have not applied for a license with FSSAI, they do so. And then they can carry out surveillance drive to check whether these food businesses have obtained the license or not. Then the second area of action is benchmarking and certification. Under this, there are various certification programs under the Eat Right India movement for restaurants, sweet shops, meat shops, bakeries under the hygiene rating scheme, and then independent benchmarking and certification schemes such as Clean Street Food Hub, railway station, Bhog, which is for places of worship, and clean and safe fruit and vegetable market. So this is about rating these food outlets based on predefined benchmarks and then certifying them on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. The third is changing settings in schools and campuses. This is about transforming the environment where we spend most of our time outside the home. So whether it is a hospital, a school, a college, workplace, office, even jail, tea estate, these are different environments where we find ourselves consuming food in one form or the other. Either we bring lunch from home or we buy food from the canteen. So it's about ensuring safe, healthy, and sustainable food in these kind of settings. So for this also, we have created certification programs in which predefined benchmarks have been listed in the checklist. And based on the rating of the campus, the performance of the campus against this checklist, they are awarded an Eat Right School or an Eat Right Campus certification. So this key area of action is about enrolling schools and campuses like hospitals, jails, and all into this program, certification program, and ensuring that they are certified. The fourth is creating a sustainable food environment. Essentially, this is about promoting environment-friendly initiatives like reducing the use of plastic, reducing food waste, promoting food donation, so on and so forth. And then the fifth is large-scale behavior change. This is essentially about creating mass awareness about healthy eating habits, reduction in trans fats, making informed choices so as not to select foods high in salt, fat, and sugar, and choosing fortified foods. So why should cities participate in this challenge? What is in it for you? So first of all, this challenge offers you the opportunity to become an Eat Smart city. So as you know, many of your cities are smart cities, but to become an Eat Smart city means that you are also taking care of the health and well-being of the people in your cities. So this is an additional honor for cities to have if they're declared an Eat Smart city. In addition to this, for cities that even if they don't, if they don't get selected as Eat Smart cities, they will still have the opportunity to engage in a virtual learning platform by attending these webinars, learning from an international audience and experts about how city transformations have taken place across the world. What are the best practices that some cities have adopted, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, we will provide some post-prize support also for the winning cities. And those who win will ultimately have the chance to have their case studies, their examples, their innovative projects showcased on an international platform in one way or another. So we have created a set of resources for you all to access. So first and foremost is the Eat Smart Cities website. This is where you have all registered online, and this will be the main portal through which you will participate in this entire challenge. It consists of a detailed list of activities in the implementation phase and how to go about it. There is an Eat Smart City guidance document which explains in great detail what the key areas of implementation are, how to implement those projects. It provides some case studies, examples, real life examples as to how it has already been implemented in some cities. And it also explains the marking scheme as to how the cities will be evaluated, how their vision will be evaluated, and how their pilot projects will be evaluated. This website also has the downloadable ebook, the Eat Right India Handbook. This handbook is a very, very detailed book on each and every initiative under the Eat Right India movement, and what are the steps for implementation, who are the key players, what are the resources for each and every initiative. Everything is given in this book. The website also has the Eat Smart vision form. This is the form you have to fill to describe your vision for your city. And it also has the Eat Smart scorecard, which you will have to fill yourself based on your performance during the implementation phase. So essentially, the evaluation process and final deliverables are as follows. Like I mentioned, you have to submit the Eat Smart scorecard. So you will have to list in this scorecard what has been the status of the Eat Right India initiatives before the implementation phase and then after the implementation phase. So essentially, we're looking at how many additional Eat Right campuses or how many additional Eat Right schools, how many additional hygiene rating restaurants and food outlets have you converted during the implementation phase. The next is the Eat Smart vision form. This has a set of about 8 questions that you have to answer in detail. And there will be a committee that will evaluate your vision based on your performance on these questions. So the evaluation process will happen in this way. So the criteria for evaluation is that you have to do one activity under each of the 5 areas of action. So that is the first criteria of evaluation. So if you end up doing 2 activities in one area of action and do 0 activities in another area of action, that is not acceptable. Then we will look at your conceptual city level scale up plan for Eat Right India initiatives. What this means is, how do you plan to scale up in your city any one Eat Right India initiative or any 2 or any 3? What is your concept to scale up these initiatives all together. Then we will look at what additional innovative measures that you are proposing to ensure a safe, healthy, and sustainable food environment at the city level. So this goes beyond what is mentioned in the Eat Right India initiatives, and we encourage you to be as creative and as practical and as ambitious as possible. Then the fourth criteria is how well you have engaged various stakeholders and citizens in the development of this vision. So like I mentioned before, we have taken a whole of government and whole of society approach. So how well have you engaged these stakeholders, whether they're professionals in food and nutrition, industry associations, development agencies, state governments, the city government. They all should be involved in development of this vision and of course implementing it during the implementation phase. And then of course the last but not the least is strategies for funding the implementation of the vision. So this is important because we encourage you to find your own sources of funding in the long term. So how would you engage with, say, CSR funds from the industry so that they can help you to scale up your vision for the city? Or how can you apply for the other kinds of funds that may be available to you? So the evaluation process looks at all of these 5 points. So this essentially is the entire overview of the challenge and how it's going to take place and how you will be evaluated. Please feel free to reach out to us at the email addresses given on the slide. That is iec@fssai.gov.in and eatsmartcities@gmail.com. We will answer your questions as soon as we possibly can. Please also join us on the WhatsApp group that has been created especially for Eat Smart Cities. I believe this group will now be on Signal and not on WhatsApp. Then you can also scan the QR code for the Eat Smart Cities challenge to get any information you would like. So with this, I thank you very, very much for your attention. I hope that what this challenge is has been made clear to you by this presentation. And in subsequent weeks during webinars, you will have the chance to engage more deeply and ask your questions and your doubts and your queries. And our team in Delhi would be very, very happy to assist you with all of this.
Thank you so much, Rijita, for such an interesting presentation. I hope this would give an overview to all cities that what these challenges are about and what are the steps needed to go for the implementation phase. We have some questions in the chat box. I would like to read them and then we can answer their queries together. Somebody has mentioned, is Bangalore city registered? If no, can they register? Ma'am, you are saying something?
Yeah, I was
Yes.
saying, we could hear Dr. Bani, and then maybe we could take the
Yes.
questions. Let's do that first.
Sure, sure. I think we can do that. Okay. So I would now like to invite Dr. Bani Tambar Airy, Assistant Professor from Institute of Home Economics and one of our esteemed partners in the NetProfan group. Over to you, Dr. Bani.
Thank you, Ruchika. Am I audible?
Ma'am, you're audible.
All right. Thank you. And a very good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my views and opinions. I will not be delving into the details of the Smart City Challenge and the Eat Right India movement. A lot has already been said and at the cost of sounding repetitive, but there are a few points which I would like to highlight here. The first is, and I'm from the field of nutrition, so this is something which is very close to my heart. So the first point which I would like to highlight is why eat right? Why is it important for us to eat right? We are all very well aware of the fact that India is undergoing nutritional transition, if not anything else. Most of our children, about 50% of our children are malnourished, they are stunted. Many of our adolescent girls, many of our mothers, young mothers are anemic. Many of our children are now even being found to be diabetic, they are overweight, they have hypertension. Many of our young adults are overweight and obese, and this problem is percolating not only to cities, but also in slum areas, but even in rural areas. So this is a time for us to pause, to think, to understand, and do some introspection, because all these disorders are related to the type of food we are eating. Either it is undernutrition because of poor intake of food, there is micronutrient malnutrition, or there is overnutrition because we are consuming extra calories, but the food is very poor in nutrition, or we are exercising less. So something is definitely going wrong. So this is where the Eat Right India movement actually steps in, because it has a sort of a vision to transform the food environment of our country. Ruchita has spoken very well about the food systems approach it utilizes. And if we are looking at the entire food chain, if we are also looking at those micro environments in which the individual is interacting, it could be a school, it could be the college, it could be the workplace. And here, if corrections are made, then perhaps we can look at a lifestyle which is completely well balanced. So basically, it is a judicious mix of regulation, it is a mix of maintaining hygiene, food hygiene, personal hygiene, behavior change, and I'm going to come to that in a bit, and also to ensure good eating practices which are sustainable, and also farm practices which are sustainable. The second point which I would like to highlight here is about behavior change. So we all understand that wholesome food, well-balanced diet is important for the well-being of our community. And these movements like the Eat Right India movement, the Fit India movement, and even now the Smart City Challenge, they are all looking at community participation. Kunal sir mentioned in the beginning that we want the communities to be involved. In fact, all these movements have been envisaged as Jan Andolans. We want people to be participating in it. So coming back to now behavior change. Now, I'm an academician, and I know that one-way communication never really helps. It doesn't have much of an impact. So what we are, I mean, no amount of preaching and no amount of just doling out information will be beneficial. Maybe it retains for some period of time, but then ultimately we forget. So when we are involving communities, to participate in these movements, we are expecting a behavior change. Behavior is very difficult to change, especially food behavior is very difficult to change. And once we are able to attain this change in behavior, it is difficult to unchange it. So this is what we are targeting. I'd like to give a few examples here. Now, I as a consumer, if I am aware that my food should be hygienic, it should not be adulterated. Am I empowered enough to figure out whether my food is adulterated or not? So FSSAI has come up with these very interesting DART books, which are simple. They have even a toolkit which an individual can test at home, whether, say, for example, my milk is adulterated or not, or if the masalas which I'm consuming, like my haldi, is adulterated or not, or if my tea leaves are adulterated or not. So once I understand the importance of these things and I test them out myself, I am empowered to make the right choice. I pick up the right brands, I go to the right source which has certification, and I'm making healthy choices that way. Similarly, we keep telling students about fortification, but unless I know that there is this plus F logo, which is going to ensure, which means that the food has extra nutrients which are good for my health, I'll go ahead and purchase it. For that matter, if the youth is made aware that consumption of foods which are high in saturated fats or trans fat or sugar or salt through many of these campaigns, which is like, for example, that Aaj Se Thoda Kam campaign, that if they're made aware that instead of taking these bhujiyas and namkeens and snacks and samosas, Kunal sir also mentioned that our canteens have all these foodstuffs available to us. So if we are made aware, we will make healthy choices. Even understanding the front of package labeling is very important. This label has a wealth of information. How many of us look at a label and beyond reading the expiry date and some ingredients, beyond that, are we interested in finding out whether this particular food which we have picked up for us is it high in salt? Is it low in fiber? Is it making sense for me to consume this at all? Do I need it? That is what we are trying to change in an individual. We also need to make people understand that our traditional diets, our Indian thali, the traditional Indian thali, they are very well balanced meals. Eating local, eating seasonal, They are the most balanced and cheap way to consume good, nutritious food, wholesome food. In fact, now we are undergoing this pandemic, and many of us, including myself, are taking so many synthetic supplements as micronutrient supplement pills. But to have good immunity. But good immunity is attained. It's not a magic wand. We don't get it overnight. We have to work on it. And how do we get it? By simply consuming a balanced meal. So making people aware that consumption of balanced, wholesome meals at the home level is the easiest way to attain immunity and good health. The third point, which I would like to make, is about the Smart City Challenge. Now, the Smart City Challenge has been envisaged where we want communities, we want cities to participate so that the general public is made aware of the importance of hygienic, wholesome food. Every city is expected to have a vision of its own, and they can formulate this vision on the basis of the vision of the Eat Right India movement, which has been explained, which is based on regulation, which is based on capacity building, certification, nudging of businesses to make more wholesome food, and of course behavior change. In fact, this vision was even awarded with the Rockefeller Foundation by the FSSAI. So here, FSSAI, what they have done is they have sort of made a network of professionals which you can partner with. For example, I am from the NetProfan, which is a network for professionals in food and nutrition. We are a group of 7 professional bodies, and we include dietitians, nutritionists, doctors, food analysts, food scientists. We have even chefs working with us and public health professionals. And our main aim is to provide our expertise to the general public in simple messages. So these, the participants of the Smart Cities can reach out via FSSAI to our professional bodies, and we can sort of perhaps provide information, know-how, we can help out. For example, if you want to make a Eat Right campus in your city, if it's a school or a college or a workplace. So how to train the canteen people, how to make scientifically sound messaging, how to impart these messages, to conduct workshops. We have the NetProfan has around 30 chapters spread all over India, and more are coming up. So please reach out to us. We will be more than happy to provide our expertise to build up this workforce for ensuring good health to the individuals. And the last point that I would like to make is that if I, as a consumer, become aware, and this is what we should be aiming for, this is what the smart cities should be aiming for, that if I, as a consumer, start demanding healthy food. So if I go to a street vendor or if I go to a restaurant and I see that this is a certified food vendor, it's a win-win situation for the vendor. It is a win-win situation for me. At least I'm satisfied that here I'm going to get safe, hygienic, and wholesome food. For example, if a teenager in school understands that he or she consumes a fresh fruit as a snack versus a sugar-sweetened beverage or a packet of chips, he or she is on the right track. And this change in behavior, if brought about, will go a long way in putting this individual on the right track of good health. And this is exactly what we are aiming for. Thank you so much for your time. If there are any questions, I would be very happy to address.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your words of wisdom on food systems approach and also explaining how NetProfan group is able to help cities during the on-ground implementation and how cities can reach out to you as well as other NetProfan group members. Due to the paucity of time, we will not be able to take many questions, but I would like to read one suggestion from the participants. They're mentioning that there are multiple stakeholders under FSSAI ecosystem, and the best way is to map cities with these stakeholders, such as training partners, industry association, auditing bodies, etc. This will give a greater momentum to the initiative. Also, CSR partners may be involved for resource mobilization. So I would like to mention that FSSAI has already classified various training partners, industry association, auditing partners as per the states and cities level. If you go to various initiatives and their websites, you will be able to find the list of training partners, audit partners, hygiene rating auditors. Every information is categorized and available. For more details or any queries, you can certainly write to us. And it is a great suggestion that CSR partners may be involved. So we can certainly take your suggestion and look forward to this as we move forward. So I would now.
Ruchika, I also wanted to add that on our website, we have also put a handbook, a little booklet which gives the details of the challenge. Under the challenge, there are various programs. Now, under each program, we have also given the web link as well as the details of all the materials which is available with us. So all the information that is needed, say of training partners, or even for IC, any brochures, any pamphlets, any kind of videos, we have developed extensively and all of it is available, which can be used. I just wanted to add this.
Yes. Sure. Thank you, ma'am. So I would now like to invite Rahul sir for vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Ruchika. And indeed, being the first introductory webinar, it was indeed enriching for all of us to learn what the whole process of Eat Smart Cities Challenge is going to be, and also to listen to our expert panelists. On behalf of FSSAI and Smart Cities Mission, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to all the participants from various cities, including the municipal commissioners, smart city CEOs, and other officials, and the nodal officers who have joined us today for this webinar. I would like to thank Shri Kunal Kumar, Joint Secretary and Mission Director of the Smart Cities Mission, Ms. Inoshi Sharma, who is Director, Social and Behavioral Change in FSSAI, for sparing their valuable time and enlightening us with their thoughtful words on this occasion. And my gratitude to both of you. Thank you, Rejuta, for a very insightful presentation, very crisp and very brief, a very good presentation. And thank you, Ruchika, for moderating it so beautifully. I would like to thank the teams at FSSAI and Smart Cities Mission, including Meghna, who's there in the Smart Cities team, and Naman, Kuhan, etc., who have worked on this challenge. Further, I'd like to thank our special guest today, Dr. Bani Airi, who's an assistant professor from the Institute of Home Economics, for sharing her words of wisdom. Ma'am, I'm sure we will imbibe this while we move forward towards creating a food vision for our smart cities and our cities in the way to becoming Eat Smart. So moving forward, the next series of webinars that we will be having will bring to you more case studies, more best practices, the way other cities have been trying to create a sustainable Eat Smart environment. And I will request all of you, all the cities who have registered, and even those cities that have not registered, because the idea of Smart Cities Mission is being a lighthouse to others and being the guiding light and being a pioneer city with the Eat Smart Cities Challenge. You will be the torchbearers of bringing about this revolution of Eat Right India. And the whole idea is basically it's a campaign. It's not a challenge. It's a campaign towards behavioral change, towards the way we design our cities, towards the way we think about our cities. And towards that end, the pioneering smart cities, the pioneering cities who are participating in this challenge have a very, very important role to play to bring about this national transformation. So with that, thank you, everyone. And we can close the webinar now.